Hey guys, welcome back. This is Donna Sharp with Holistic Wellbeing. Thank you so much for joining me here on another live day. Today I will be continuing to speak on the subject of traditions and creating strong family. We spoke on that briefly yesterday. So I'm going to dig a little bit deeper just to share with you. I spoke yesterday on a lot of times people have traditions and they don't realize that they do. And some never really had any traditions. They never had any kind of format to follow. So I'm going to just make it a little bit clearer tonight. So you have, hi Rhonda, you have a general understanding of what a tradition looks like, because there may be habits that you have been creating in the past and big celebrations that you have been creating, but never really considered it a tradition. So I'm going to break a couple of things down for you so you can have a better understanding of it. So first, let me say welcome and thank you for joining. And I'm just going to go straight into it. As I mentioned to you, I've been speaking from a book, How to Create Strong Families. And as we're approaching towards the end of the book now, this is just a piece of it that actually creates memories for your family. So in other words, whatever your children really enjoyed in the past, you want to redo that the following year, because it's something that's going to bridge the gap between your children and yourself. And it helps to build a lot of great values, communication, and strong relationships as well. All right. So from the book, evaluating and enhancing the traditions that you already have, they said some of the happiest memories from your own childhood probably revolves around traditions, things that happened when with some regularity in your family. So there were some things before that, hi Wanda, there were some things before that you did as a group. I mentioned yesterday when I spoke on this, some of the bigger ones would be Christmas. During Christmas, you may have a certain tradition that you followed. Maybe you get up 4 o'clock every single morning and you open your gifts and you have cookies left on the table for you. I don't know, I'm just making things up. And then there's Easter, another big one, right? And you do certain things and you notice that the following year, you're doing the same thing again because it just brought great joy for your family. So most of us would like to create the same kinds of warm family moments for our own children. And as I mentioned, even though you are, hi Felicia, thanks for joining. So even though you are continuing with the traditions that you have for your own family, your children are going to mimic that. So whenever they have children, they're oftentimes going to utilize the same traditions, but they may add their own particular spin on it. Remember, they're not going to grow up just the way that you teach them things, but it's nice because they add their own spin, their own creativity, and their own flow, their own, style. What is the word I'm looking for? I just had it. It flew the coop, but you know what I mean. So, or if we don't have those good childhood memories, we want to be sure that some void or empty place isn't recreated in our own children. So we want to make sure that they're having something that they can always fall back on, because what does that do? It just creates joy in the family, excitement, laughter. You have some families that are very comedic. Mine is a very comedic family. We can't get together without hysterically laughing. So those are the things that later on in life, as your family progress and get a little bit older, they're going to fall back on those things to particularly give them strength, all right, in times that they may be in need of a little picker-upper. So they're going to fall back and say, remember when grandma used to, you remember when we did this? And it's just something that just brings great joy to the family. So the best way to evaluate the traditions that you already have is by how they make you feel, how much they pull you together, and how much your children remember and anticipates them. So are your children really looking forward to the next Christmas that's coming up and the things that you guys did? If so, there is a particular reason. There's something that you did that really, really nudged them, right? Another way to evaluate them is to think about what they actually teach your children. So what does a tradition teach your children? Is it something that's just empty and just clear fun, which that's okay? But what did they take away from it? How did it add value to their life and for their future children's life? You always want to ask that. What is it? What is the reason behind it? What is it that someone is gaining from that, right? So in this section that I'm getting ready to speak on, I'm not covering all of them tonight, but I'm only going to touch on maybe 4. I'll see how it goes. In this section, we'll identify 8 key aspects of life that family traditions can help your children understand. So this list will be used as elements, as a yardstick to assess your own family traditions. Again, if you're unclear, family traditions, what is that? I don't think we have that. You might want to do an assessment to find out, again, what are those things that your children rant and rave about that was just so much fun, and maybe you started it and did it for a while and stopped, and they're missing it, and they're going to come back to you and say, Mom, you remember when we used to do this? How come we don't do that anymore? That may be a little reminder that your children will serve for you, right? So we'll use them to help identify the benefits of other traditions that we will suggest in the 2 sections as follows. So here's something I spoke on last night. I'm going to cover that just briefly again. When I spoke on family traditions, this book in particular, they use the example as a good recipe to represent what a tradition looks like. And I'm going to show exactly what I'm talking about. So good recipe books includes what each serving will give you in terms of calories, the fat grams, the vitamins, and so on and so forth. As we decide what traditions we want to continue cooking and serving up the family. We need to pay attention to what's in them and what we get out of them. The first criteria for a good tradition is simply that, bringing the family members together. So it's like a recipe. In a recipe, you're going to have many things you're going to throw in here. And if you're cooking like the West Indians, like I told my daughter, we don't measure anything, okay? Just like, Mom, how much of this did you use? And I tell her, I say, listen, we do a little dash of this and a little dash of that. Nothing fancy to it. It still tastes the same. A lot of times you cook it again and do the same thing, chances are the recipe going to come out right. But the bottom line is you have different ingredients that's going to go into making that particular menu, that recipe, right, that you have. So it's quite the same for family members, and the tradition that you bridge together is going to bring family members, excuse me, it's going to bring family members together by strengthening the ties that binds us to each other and making joyful memories. Every tradition that does this is worth keeping regardless of whether it does anything else. In fact, another definition of a good tradition is a practice or habit that unites the family members and enhances their joy. So if you have family members that, for whatever reason, you see them separating themselves in 5 different directions and you want to draw them together, you want to find out from each of them what makes them tick. So when you create this tradition, you know that each of them are going to have different personalities. So you want to do something that all of them will enjoy, because some people gravitate to certain things and others don't. Some may be more reserved and some may be more outgoing. So what is it that you're going to develop that's going to incorporate everyone and make everyone feel comfortable, right? So there are at least 8 aspects of life that family traditions can help us to understand. And these are the ones I'm getting ready to speak on that I just talked about and develop. So let's look at them together and define them one at a time. The only ones I'm going to talk about, I'll see how far we get. It's pretty short. So here's the first 4 that I'd like to talk about. The first one is values. All good traditions, by definition, promotes values such as loyalty and unity. We all know that loyalty and unity is very, very big when it comes to grouping people together, right? You don't want to have any kind of relationship with someone that you know is not going to be loyal to you, because those are the people that are there for a season. You ever heard the term, some people come into your life for a season and a reason? They may not be there the whole time. They may only have come there for one purpose in your life, and then they're gone, and that's okay, all right? So same goes here. All traditions, by definition, promote certain values such as loyalty and unity, and creating that bond between the families. Certain traditions directly promote a particular value. For example, many Christian traditions reinforce generosity. If you meet a Christian, a lot of times they may give endlessly without trying to find anything in return. And I had this conversation yesterday with someone, and that was the topic of discussion, amongst other things we spoke on. But we basically spoke about how a lot of the West Indians, and please don't judge me, I'm just going by the values and the way I was brought up in my island. A lot of West Indians, they give unendlessly, all right? I don't know if that's a word, but they give without trying to seek anything in return, and they genuinely give. So when that happens to individuals that we meet in the US, a lot of times they're looking at us and saying, okay, so what is it I need to give you back? And we're looking at them like, you don't owe me anything, right? So that's hard for people to accept. So when you have culture differences where people are used to a certain things and others are not, it's really hard for them to absorb. But I'm here to tell you that genuine people actually exist. And chances, a lot of times, those genuine people are going to be the small percent of population that people gravitate to, because it is what it is. That's just how life works, right? The next one is communication. Many traditions can improve communications between family members. Have you ever seen family members that are tearing each other's hair apart and then ripping their names to pieces, and they're talking about them, and why? I always tell my children and my family, I say, listen, family should be the strongest bond you ever have, because you're not going to have strangers on the street take up and pick up for you as a family member should. I'm not saying they are, but family member, that blood, you ever heard blood is thicker than water? That's really how it's supposed to happen. But a lot of times that's not the case. Sometimes the people that are closest to you are the people that you don't know very well, that just has a vested interest in how you progress ahead and just want to be able to help you. So you want to make sure that you're incorporating some of that in your family as well. So communication is a very good thing. Education is another one. And that basically says that some traditions can improve your children's education by reinforcing ideas or concept that they are learning in a school, or in many cases introducing values or ways of thinking that schools leave out. So you know how you have some children go to school and they say, oh, my teacher, why the kids teacher don't teach them that? That's not the teacher's responsibility. They learn a lot of those good values from home. And if you're not giving them those good values at home before they get out into the school world, then you have some work to do, because the teachers can only do but so much, right? And then the last one is marriage. Some traditions, when practiced in two-parent families, can strengthen the marriage relationship and partnership. So you'll often find sometimes that there may be traditions that was developed in the event the marriage was separated when they were together as a family. And it's okay to take those same traditions if the husband separated from the wife and bring it over and continue it on with the child, because the child has nothing to do with it. If this is something that they gravitated to, go back and do some of the same things, similar things, because that's what they found more joy in. So that's all I wanted to speak with you guys on tonight. I'm gonna continue to speak on the additional concepts, so you have an idea what are the key ingredients that it takes to make a nice recipe. And the key ingredients in this case is what's going to help to ultimately establish a wonderful tradition, which will ultimately leave nice memories for your children and for your family. So that's all I had to speak with you guys on tonight, as if that wasn't enough, right? So I'll be back again tomorrow to touch on the other basics, the other 4 basics. And maybe now, if you don't necessarily have a tradition, go and find, first of all, identify what you've done in the past, all right? Don't recreate the wheel. Pull it out of the sandbox, pull it out of your whatever box you have, and say, you know what, I remember when we used to do this. Let's go back to this. Call your children in a room and ask them, what was it we did in the past that you just really enjoyed and had a whole lot of fun with? What was it? And they're gonna tell you. And once they tell you, you can take it and just move forward with it and try to change it a little, alter it a little bit, and then just see how well they flow along with everything. But it's definitely gonna create communication and bonding between the family. So if you love what you heard, please hit the love button. Also share this live with someone else if you feel it can benefit them. By all means, log on to my website. It's holisticwellbeing.com. And that's WHOLELISTIC, wellbeing.com. And there you can find out why I'm so passionate about what I do. But outside of that, I'm just going to ask you guys to continue staying safe. Thank you for being committed to traveling with me over the past several months, past year. And by far, I'll be back again with some more wonderful information for all of you to enjoy. All right? So have a fantastic rest of your evening. Rhonda, thanks for joining. Felicia, thanks for joining. Wanda, I think I saw you, Mr. Ted, pop up there. And whoever else logs on later on. All right, take care. Have a good evening. Ciao.